my name is Jasika Nicole. I am an actor and maker. I usually put these videos on my Instagram account, which is Jasika Nicole. No, it's not. What is my Instagram account? Jasika is Try Curious, because I love trying anything in terms of like making and creating things. And I wanted to see what it was like over here in YouTube land to use this as a platform and talk to people about making. So what I've been doing in this segment, which I call Girl, What You Wearin', is I talk about some garment that I've made in the past. I've been sewing all of my own clothes for about 5 years or so, 5 or 6 years. And I have a closet full of really awesome garments that I'm really proud of. And I used to get the chance to wear them very often, but of course with this pandemic and me not planning to leave the house for the next year, I thought it would be fun to just revisit some of the garments, just in case there were any makers out there who were looking for inspiration, or people who don't even sew, who are maybe interested in getting into sewing. This is my craft room right here. And it's where I do pretty much all of my sewing and my shoemaking. I also make shoes. I made these shoes right here. And then I have, other little spaces that the couch is my knitting area. The garage is my woodworking area. And then I have a little area underneath our garage that I use as my pottery room. I'm very, very lucky to have all these spaces to allow myself to be very creative and make cool things. And so yeah, today I'm going to talk about a very popular Big 4 pattern. It is McCall's 6886. I think one of the reasons that this pattern is so popular is because it's just so simple to make. It is a pattern that requires knit fabrics. It's kind of like a bodycon dress, so it has negative ease, and you need a fabric that stretches out so that your body can fill it up. Obviously, you cannot do that with a woven fabric. Woven is like a denim or a quilting cotton fabric. I'm giving a very little bit of like sewing 101 with this video. Anyway, with this particular pattern, it's been very popular in the online sewing community because it's pretty easy to make it fit your body if you are included in this sizing. None of the Big 4 patterns are particularly known for having super inclusive sizing. All right, my bust and waist are the same and my hips are larger, so I always have to adjust my patterns, and this one was a pretty easy one to adjust. I think that what's cool about this particular garment is that it is made with such an easy sewing pattern. It has a front, a back, sleeves, and a collar, which I left off because it's sequins, so I ended up just folding it under. But it's such a simple garment to put together and construct, and when you add a really bold, interesting fabric and pair it with something like a super simple pattern like that, I think you can wind up with something that's really remarkable, like this dress. As you can see, I made it out of reversible sequin fabric. So the fabric is knit. It does have stretch to it, as you can see, but each sequin is black on one side and it's gold on the other side. So when you push them the other way, because they're only connected by one little thread, you get to play around with kind of like the dynamic of having both black and gold in one garment. The only trick about this garment is that when you go in public, people want to touch you, and I'm not okay with that. This particular fabric, it's tricky to work with because the plastic sequins can break your needle if you're not careful, because they're so hard, obviously, but you have to, really ghost. So anyway, the tricky thing about this particular fabric is that the edges of the sequins are sharp, and you don't want them on like any sensitive parts of your skin, particularly under the arm, on the sides. It's really uncomfortable to have like sequins poking out there. So there are different ways that you can kind of accommodate using sequins on a body. One of those things is to make your garment with the lining underneath it so that there aren't any sequins from the seam allowance that are actually touching your skin. What I did with this one is I individually took off the sequins that were in the seam allowance I zigzagged these seams together instead of using my serger because obviously that was going to be a nightmare. And then I bound the edges of the seam allowances in bias binding. And you know, it certainly made this dress take a longer time than it would have taken to make if it weren't in sequins. But it's really only 1, 2, 3, 4. It's only 5 seams. So, you know, it wasn't terrible. It was definitely worth it because, again, I think that the end result of the dress is really dynamic. And I can also, like, you know, write things on myself. And instead of adding a separate collar to this knit design, which is what you would normally do, I knew that that would be too much, like, fabric to try and take the sequins out of, and it would get really fiddly. And so I just turned it under like, you know, a regular hem, and I sewed the bias binding down on the inside. So you can actually find out way more details about this particular garment on my blog, which is www.jasikanicole.com. I love to do sewing pattern reviews. And I talk about the process of making it. I usually share like where I got my fabric from, who the pattern is from, what adjustments I had to make for my size, yada, yada, yada. And then the shoes, I share posts about my shoes, but the shoes, you know, I don't really follow patterns for them, so it's kind of just figuring it out as I go. But you can definitely read more about my shoe journey on my website. Again, jasikanicole.com. So, this has been my first segment of Girl What You Wearin' for YouTube. Thanks for watching!
Girl, I said, hey girl, let me ask you, girl, what you wearing? Girl, I mean it gender neutrally. Can you tell me what you wearing? Are those sequins or is that lace? Tell it to my face. What you wearing? Girl, I said, hey girl, let me ask you, girl, what you wearing?